And I knew from the start, from the meeting I had with them, after I refused to add or change anything to my statement, that the prosecution examination was going to be difficult.
So kind of going back, I want to go back to that meeting with Binger. So you go, kind of walk me through. You're going into the police station to meet with the DA. Do you know you're going to meet with the district attorney at that, or the assistant district attorney at that point?
No, I actually received a call a few days prior to the meeting getting set up with Mr. Binger and Krause. I got a call. I received a call from Heather. She's a witness advocate, saying that she would like to set up a time to talk to me, whatever would be convenient for me. I said it was like the next Tuesday, or maybe it was the Monday. And she said, just come to the district attorney's office. And she told me where to go. I went at that time, went to check in. There was a lot of people actually in there at that time. So they told me to stand out in the hallway. So I stood out in the hallway for, I would probably say 15, 20 minutes. And then Heather came and got me. We went to an elevator, went up a couple floors, and then to what I will call it a huge conference room, but like the nicest conference room I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And we sat there probably for like 5 minutes before Heather got up and walked out of the room, to my assumption, to see where they are, because they weren't in here. She returned, and maybe 30 seconds later, Krause came in, and we were just still waiting on Binger. But when Krause was in there, that's when he complimented me on my photography, asked how long I've been doing this, and just small talk, nothing to do with like the case wise. And then Mr. Binger came in, kind of like he looked like he was in a rush to get there or something. And then we discussed my police statement. When Mr. Binger introduced himself to me, he said that I would be he would be working with me, or I would be working with him in another case coming up. So hopefully we can have a good partnership. And that's when I already knew I was also subpoenaed for another case. I didn't know with him at the time, but that would be for Joshua Ziminski in January.
Gotcha. And I don't want to get too much into that, since that case is still pending and you'll probably
Absolutely.
be called as a witness. But had you, at that time, had you given a statement about Joshua Ziminski, or have you since given your statement about him?
Negative. I thought my relevance to his case was just a photo, but then when Krause said in trial that he has more relevance in the Ziminski case, I don't know, makes me wonder. I truly don't know.
But they haven't called you on that Ziminski case yet since the trial of Rittenhouse.
No, not since the trial. No.
Okay. Like I said, I don't want to talk too much about that, because you could be.
But I do want to add, I think my personal belief is that's why Krause cross-examined me and not Binger, because I have to do that case with Binger in January.
Okay. Could be. All right. So you go in there and they asked you about your police statement. Did they ask you to like restate everything, or did they have you read it? What was that process like?
Binger had a copy of it and slid it over to me, asked me to read it. And I did. I read it. Said it looked accurate because he asked me, is it accurate still from the time you wrote it? I said it is. It hasn't been altered, nothing like that. And that's when he said he had a photo, and it was like a real distorted photo. It was real blowing up. And he pointed to an individual, and asked me if I knew anyone, or if I knew him or anyone in the picture. And I said I did not. And he said, well, this is Joshua Ziminski. And I mean, it clicked because I had a subpoena from him, but
Sure.
That was it. And I said, okay. He literally set the photo down, picked it back up, and said, who is this? And I said, Joshua Ziminski. And that's when he said, would you like to add this to your statement? And but what the photo was of that trailer tipped on its side, and he was kicking something into the fire, it looked like. And I don't know why he wanted me to add that, but then after I said, oh no, I don't want to add it, he wasn't too irritated by that, but we started breaking down my statement from beginning to end. And he, in the middle of it, he showed me a video off of a cell phone he pulled out of his pocket. And I personally, at the time, I tried to not watch the case. I didn't really follow it in the news, nothing like that. So I didn't see all the videos at the time that were out. The video he the video he showed me was of, I still don't know who recorded it, but Kyle was just on the ground, and who they refer to as jump kick man kicks him in the head, and he stopped the video. And he goes, well, why isn't this in your statement? And I said, because I didn't see that.
So what happens after he's asking you about jump kick man?
And he says, after he said, well, why didn't you see him? And I said, on my side I was in the middle of the crowd that was kind of running after Kyle. So like I said, someone may have walked in front of me. I may have been checking on my sides to make sure I was safe. I don't exactly know why I didn't see him. Sure. But like I said, like you said, it happened really fast, and I didn't see it. And he kind of was frustrated by that. And he kept on the same video. He hit play, let it play a little. He skipped over a few sections, but got to the exact point where Gage is holding his gun out at Kyle and said, you didn't see this? And I did, but I wasn't. How he wanted it, how he explained it to me is, I'm adding something to my statement. And when you tell me, I have no law degree, I don't know how the law works, but I was told by numerous people, don't change your statement. And so when I go in there and he asks me, oh, do you want to add this to your statement, or do you want to change this to your statement? I'm taking that literally, and I don't want to cause any legal trouble for me. So I just answer the questions how I interpret them.
Yeah, no, you made the right decision, because if you change your statement, then they'll ask you about the initial statement and why you changed it. And then
I didn't want to be less credible up on the stand, because and this is my opinion, and this is something that I heard outside the courtroom while I was waiting to be called on the stand. While I was in the courtroom, an attorney, I don't remember his name, but he's from Los Angeles, came up to me and said, think long and hard if you said to Detective Howard that Gage had a gun. And he says, because it was on a recording that you said that. I don't know for a fact. I can't recall, but I could have sworn I did say in that statement to Detective Howard that he had a gun. But apparently I'm going to go with what my statement says. But it just, when that attorney came to me in the hallway and said that to me, it kind of like brought my memory back up. Like, you know what? I did think for a second I did mention that, but maybe I didn't, because it was not in my statement.
Let me get this straight. I want to make sure I've got this right. So you're waiting to give your testimony. You're in the hallway of the courthouse.
Yes.
And an attorney from LA?
Yes. He introduced himself to me. He was an older gentleman with gray hair and a nice suit, and said he was here from LA. And I don't know what his relevance was, but he did talk to my attorney. I don't recall his name off the top of my head, unfortunately.
So he came up and mentioned that you had not stated in your in your recorded statement that you said you saw a gun.
Yes. And I didn't even know my statement was recorded, but he said that's normal.
Yeah, typically they would be recorded. Just as a personal bit of advice, if you're ever at a police station or a district attorney's office, assume that everything you say is recorded, because a lot of times it is. But that's okay. So that's a really interesting sort of detail. And you haven't talked to that guy ever
I have
since
not
then?
been able to track him down, no.
Okay. Real quick, I was just thinking about this. Have Ziminski's attorney ever contacted you?
No.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. So then they're asking if you want to add to or change your statement. And that's where you're like, no, I don't want to do that. This is my statement. And Krause asked you about that on the stand, right?
Yes.
How does that, and then your response was that that you guys asked me to change my statement, right? Is that what you said? Something
Yes,
like
I
that?
said, yes, you did.
Okay. And that kind of really, that felt like that changed the whole tone of the conversation there. That put Krause on a different
And again,
path.
like I said, I'm not anything in the legal field. So when you tell me to change my statement, to me, that's changed. You asking me to change my statement. And how he goes into, oh, did I ask you to retype it? No, you didn't ask me to retype it. I never typed it in the first place. So that kind of made no sense to me. But when you ask me to change something or add something to a statement that's already typed up and I signed, to me, that's changing my statement.
Well, I mean, he also showed you a picture, told you it was Ziminski, and then asked if you wanted to identify Ziminski that you weren't able to identify previously.
Which is weird because, I mean, like I said, I did have a subpoena from for the Ziminski trial. However, I still don't have any information on it or to a reason why.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons I asked if Ziminski's attorney has contacted you, because that's something rather incredible to me that he did that. Is that seems, I won't say. I would not have conducted myself in that manner as a district attorney or an associate or assistant district attorney, is what I will say. That's very surprising to me. Or maybe it shouldn't be at this point. I don't know. Okay. So you go on, you kind of changed the tone, in the courtroom by talking about, how you don't want to change your statement. And then what happened from there, from your perspective? Like, how did it progress?
Majority, I want to make this clear. Majority, like 99% of the conversation was just me and Binger. Other people, Krause and Heather were in the room, but Heather was typing on her computer and Krause was just kind of listening. Krause really didn't ask me much in there, or even talk to me in general. So it was Mr. Binger. So after I didn't want to add anything to my statement, the few times that he asked me to or change my statement, he got frustrated, and Binger kind of went straight to, well, there's nothing he can help us with. And he looked at Krause and says, is there anything you want to ask him? And he says, nope, that was it. And then he looked at me and said, I'm sure Mark Richards is going to love to subpoena you. And so you'll probably be hearing from him shortly. And literally that night I was subpoenaed for Mark Richards.
Okay, so one thing I wanted to talk to some comrades about was this thing. It was mentioned at trial, and he elaborated today. So during his interview with Binger and Krause before pre-trial, he is brought in, and he said that Binger showed him a blown up photo of somebody. Okay. And he wasn't able to identify who the person was. This is the changing of the statement. Wasn't able to identify who the somebody was. And then Binger shows him a video of Joshua Ziminski and indicates that the person in the photo is Joshua Ziminski. And then he asks him if he wants to change his statement to reflect the identity of Joshua Ziminski. Now, bear in mind, he has also been subpoenaed in the trial of Ziminski.
Yeah.
That
raises problems.
Interesting.
I mean, if
That
I'm
sounds like
Ziminski's
witness
lawyer,
tampering.
if I'm Ziminski's lawyer and I watched this interview, and if I'm Ziminski's lawyer and not watching this interview, I'm questioning my life choices. But if I'm Ziminski's lawyer watching this interview, I mean, I'm taking notes. What do you guys feel about that?
It kind of feels like they're trying to influence a witness in a very material way.
I mean, would you be surprised though? I mean, once again, given the course of conduct, this is totally within the course of conduct that we've seen during the trial. That to me isn't shocking, right? It's not a giant revelation that changes my perception of Binger and Krause.
Yeah, it doesn't shock me other than the fact that, I mean, it doesn't shock me that they did it, but it shocks me that it was done. I mean, like you cannot, again, if it's just the Kyle trial that he's talking about, it's a little bit different, but with the Ziminski trial coming up,
that one's not even politically motivated, or at least not as politically motivated. Maybe
you could perceive it as politically motivated.
But this is the kind of thing that leads to false memories, because you are feeding someone information they didn't have. It's like, oh, this is Ziminski. You're like, okay, it's Ziminski. Now it's quite possible for a person to get on the stand and be like, oh yeah, I recognized him in the first place, because people's memories do some weird things. So by feeding that information, you have the real possibility of them forgetting where the suggestion came from and just remembering, oh yeah, I recognized him in the first place.
And if he did it with Ziminski's case, how many other cases that don't get media publicity does he do this with? Where there aren't tens, hundreds of thousands of people, millions of people that are watching these live streams and watching this testimony. Because yeah, he did say that on the stand that you know, he was talking about the photo, that he didn't recognize it, and then he was like, okay, here he is over here. Now try this again. Like, it's pretty clear that is somebody who is trying to influence a witness to remember something that they did not remember.
Yeah, and that is it's the reason it's bad is because we know he did it to Photochad because he told us. How many other witnesses, even in this case, did they do that to? The people who are not, we all love this guy because he's an anomaly, right? This is someone who is the entire authority of the state. You've got a judge there saying you have to answer the questions. You've got a state-funded prosecutor, or two, well, three if you count Krause, twice. Then you've got these state-funded prosecutors breathing down your neck right at you, asking you these questions. And for him to say, no, you asked me to change my statement, a lot of people cannot do that. That was the magic of this guy, is that he is the anomaly witness. He's the guy who said, you're trying to get me to say something that I didn't say. And that is frustrating because some witnesses do not have that kind of will.
Yeah.
And this is exactly why when we talk about prosecutorial reform, when we talk about changing the system, the fact is that we're seeing this, and the way they did it, the nonchalant way they did these things, is exactly the reason why we're cautious with prosecutors and we're so concerned about prosecutorial overreach, right? Because you see just how casually, how flippantly they do it, right? It wasn't something that they were doing, and really even thinking twice about. I think they probably do that in many cases, right? We're just seeing it. It's being exposed for the first time because of the national coverage of the Kyle Rittenhouse case.
Yeah, and the other crazy thing is there's a witness advocate in the room. Like, and the fact that during that time where he's saying to them that he doesn't want to change his statement, and they're asking about it, and they're showing him videos saying, well, now this is this guy, isn't that this guy? Like, the fact that they're doing that, and the witness advocate, according to him, doesn't say anything. A witness advocate is supposed to be there as a neutral, or not. No, actually, as an advocate for the witness.
For the witness.
They're technically supposed to be opposed to the prosecutor. And the fact that that person didn't appear to pipe up is concerning to me.
Yeah, I did catch that part of the interview with Nathan where he said, he's like, I mean, she walked me in and walked me out, and other than that, she didn't say anything. So I don't know. I didn't know what her job was, to be honest.
Yeah,
which that should not be. I mean, you should. If I would think that if a witness advocate were doing their job, they would have a quick debrief ahead of time. Say, this is what you might expect to see. You know, I'm here to support you. If you feel uncomfortable in any way, let me know, and we can, you know, I can pull you out of the room or something. I don't know, but at least have some kind of a conversation to establish some sort of a relationship or an expectation from that.
Yeah, it's that line of commentary from Nate was infuriating to me. Sitting here like, I know these guys suck, but man, do they suck. Ooh.
So pour out an odd bag of bow, more love for spirits flow as the ones who get unemployed. So pour out a glass for the tea, post on Twitter as we hear Lost Painting tonight. From the white shores of Nairn to the hills of Glenlivet, there's no one who explains the thought better than Nick. So pour out a glass for the ones who have passed to make the love of